Buckhead Beef in Three Forks, Chicago hosted a first-of-its-kind chef's masterclass. Over 20 of Chicago's top chefs and steakhouses were represented for this first-of-its-kind Wagyu whiskey and wine dinner. Three Forks chef proprietor Billy Caruso showed off his culinary talents to the VIP crowd of Chicago's steakhouse chefs and owners. The night featured cocktails from Jim Beam brands, wine from Francis Ford Coppola, and the star of the show, Strub Branch GMS 8 Plus Wagyu. Fifth-generation rancher Tia Strub Abel addressed the group, telling tales of how the Strub family raises their prized Wagyu beef in Pittsburgh, Texas. Guests were greeted with Punch D'Amato, a Jim Beam bonded citrus punch. Seared scallops topped with bacon jam got the dinner going as the staff poured director's cut Chardonnay. The dinner's second course of foie gras torchon with apricot marmalade, grilled brioche and Wagyu marrow bones, and fruit mostarda got the group's attention as servers poured director's cut Chardonnay Sauvignon. The main course took things up a notch, forcing every guest to take a picture of the Strub Branch Wagyu, Wagyu strip loin, top sirloin, tenderloin, and tomahawk ribeye. They were all served caveman style. The dinner came to an end with Maker's Mark bread pudding and the Patriot, a Jim Beam rye old-fashioned with catamaro. This is meant to be drunk luge style through a Wagyu steak bone. Chefs Caruso and the staff were met with a standing ovation as they closed the event. So we're backstage with Billy Caruso here, and Chef, tell me what you're trying to do in this program here tonight. What's going on?
Well, we're trying to showcase Durham Ranch and Strub Wagyu beef. I think it's some of the best Wagyu beef on the planet. Really impressed with the flavor profile of it, and that it's from Texas. First and foremost, I'm from Texas. Got to rep your country, right?
Hold on. Turn around. Okay, go ahead. So.
And really just emphasize the fact that it is that good and it's from Texas and it's really incredible Wagyu beef. I think it's their gold scale of 9, graded to scale of 9, is as good, if anything, from Australia.
Okay. So there's more meat cooking here than I've seen in quite a while between what's going on. Tell me all the cuts you're making and how you're going to display them.
So we're doing Wagyu tenderloin. We're doing a top sirloin, the heart of the top sirloin, broken down into 3 different muscles. We are also doing tomahawk Wagyu ribeyes, and we're also doing strip loins.
Tell me the muscles you're going to do, because right now it's easier for a butcher to knock out those muscles than the old days when they just cut up the cow and boom.
Well, I think one of the cooler cuts that we're doing right here are the sirloin, top sirloin heart. It's kind of broken into 3 sections, and we kind of take out that big vein in the middle, and it kind of has the same marbling content and feel as a spinalis, like the top of a ribeye.
Cool. Hey, have fun.
Thank you.
I'm here with the one and only Tia Abels from Strub Ranch, who is the magnificent purveyor of the finest Wagyu cattle in this country.
We think so.
And now tell me about it. Do you really feed them beer?
No, we don't. We do feed brewers grain, though, so we hope that contributes to some of the tradition. But
Actually, she told me earlier she drinks the beer.
Yeah, I drink it all. We don't let the cattle have any. So.
Now, tell me how the first couple of Kobe beef came over here and why it's Wagyu now.
Yes, it was. I think there was a back in the 60s or 70s originally, and then in the 90s there was a loophole. And so some genetics were brought over, and from those genetics we developed a herd through artificial insemination, embryo technology, and so basically Kobe beef comes from Kobe, Japan. It is a national treasure, and Wagyu is the breed that creates Kobe beef. And we just, of course, to honor the Japanese tradition and their heritage, we have always called it Wagyu beef because it's not Kobe in America. So. Okay, so it's kind of like buying a Cuban cigar if I wanted to buy Kobe beef. That's right. Okay. That's right. If it is raised in America, it is domestic Wagyu beef. Yes.
Okay. And what makes it so special?
Well, there's several different factors, but basically the marbling content is extreme. So it's going to grade, right now we're at about 85-90% prime. I think around 3% of cattle in the United States grade prime.
So 2% of steak or less is prime.
Okay.
So you're saying 85% of all your cattle is prime? Wow.
Right now we're at, that will vary at times, but for about the past 6 months, 8 months, we've been about that ratio.
That's
so
amazing.
It is, and
okay.
so we have not been below a BMS 5. So if you go online, you Google, if you look at the Japanese or the Australian chart, and you look at the BMS charts, it'll range from a 1 to a 9 or a 1 to a 12, and you can see the extreme marbling, and you compare that to a USDA chart. So
this is the finest steak you can buy.
We think so. Of course, there's a lot of great Wagyu producers out there in the country. We're integrated, we raise them all on our ranch. So basically from birth to harvest, we have control of them. So that's a little bit different.
Tell me why people should pay more money for a steak like this.
Well, one reason is if they consider the input. They're on feed about 500 days, versus a traditional animal that's on feed a quarter of that time, somewhere around that. And it's just, if you ever eat it, you'll know why. It is above prime. So
I'm lucky, but it's a job thing, but it's all cool.
Yeah.
How did you have, I'm Jewish, I have to say the chutzpah to be the first people to say, hey, these cattle are available, I want them.
Well, my dad actually had the, yeah.
Okay, the chutzpah, there you go.
The balls.
The balls, there you go.
My dad had that. My dad is in his 70s. He's kind of always been on the, the kind of cutting edge of everything. And he said, I want to raise some. We kind of basically trying to get people back to the roots and appreciate the beef that they eat, and just a really good. He thought there was a market for a niche market for fine beef. We're in a little town in East Texas, 4,000 people. I thought he was Pittsburgh, Texas. I thought he was nuts. That was 20-something years ago, but he was right, and it kind of just took off from there. So, and it's, and now, so I'm the fourth generation. I have a little boy that's the fifth generation. So
good for you, sweetie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
So I've got Rich Jersey here from Sierra Meats, and Rich, in the chain of things, you get these young cattle, and tell me about how you handle them and what age you get them and what goes on.
Well, we get the cattle from the Stru branch, and we get the calves when they're about 600 or 700 pounds, which are just what we call 6 weights. They're yearlings, so they're about a year old, and they're just coming off of grass, and we've just been a little bit introduced to grain. And from there, they go to what we call the fat farm. We don't call them a feed yard, we call them a fat farm because they have lots of room to roam, and we're there for over 400 days where they get rations of high-energy grains.
Now, the Strubs told me that they don't feed the beer to the cattle, they drink it themselves. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. That is true. In Japan, you'll find some small family farms, and they might have 6 or 10 head of cattle, or maybe they might have 2. And they're in barns, and they put halters on them, and they walk them around. And there they'll massage them, and they'll feed them sake, and they'll feed them beer.
Why?
Well, because they don't have any room to roam. So they feel that by being confined, and land is very expensive in Japan. So a small family farm might be only, size of somebody's small yard. So they feel that in the summertime, if they give them beer, it'll stimulate their appetite, and they'll eat more. And the faster they eat, the more weight they gain, and the quicker they can take it to market.
Now, the Strubs told me that they named their brand Wagyu, and that there is no Kobe in the United States. Am I saying that correctly?
You're correct. The USDA requires us to label all Wagyu. And to be called Kobe, it must originate from the city of Kobe, Japan. Similar to how champagne has to come from Champagne region of France. Otherwise, it's called sparkling wine.
So how are people here selling hamburger they're calling Kobe?
Well, we're not really the policemen,
no, okay.
but they should be calling it Wagyu.
Okay.
Or American-style Kobe.
Well, I want to thank you for help putting this on. A great event. The food's super. Thanks
you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Easy, slow.
You're tilting the
There you go, there you go.